Well, we've got quite a bit to go over here today at the Thundercloud, and to quote Ron Burgundy, I am not prepared. Only I am not prepared whatsoever. So it is going to be a bit of an off the cuff episode, but then again, we do this all day, every day. It's nothing new to the Thundercloud. So I guess what we're going to do, we're going to start off with the big news that Maxx Crosby, fucking deadbeat defensive end, failed his physical. The Ravens have balked at the trade and now have pulled their offer, which was agreed upon, of 2 first rounders, one this year, one next year, for Maxx Crosby, and the trade's dead. The trade's dead. Now, what ramifications could that have? Quite a bit, actually, especially for the Green Bay Packers. It was believed that the Dallas Cowboys were willing to give a first and a second rounder to obtain Maxx Crosby. So now the trade with Rashawn Gary, where the Packers received a 2027 fourth-round pick, is in jeopardy. I really do have Dallas favored as the team that's going to land Maxx Crosby. Chicago Bears are the other team that I could see doing it as well. It's not going to affect many teams, but of course, when I get really happy about a trade that the Packers make, then this bullshit gets sprung on me. I get pretty fucking pissed off. I'm not going to lie. It's fucking really aggravating that they pulled this goddamn stunt. Sage, you're fucking right that the Ravens are fucking cowards for doing this fucking shit. It's just unfucking believable. So for the Packers, maybe it gets rid of their trade. I'm not sure what other markets it really changes a whole lot. I don't think it's going to have, like, you know what I mean, like a huge domino effect. It could change things. It's not going to affect the Raiders and what they're able to do. Sage is saying, how do I make this trade about my team grow? Fuck off, Sage. It is about, there's connections at play here, man. There's fucking connections at play. He's either going to the Bears or the fucking Cowboys. Or maybe he sticks with the fucking Raiders. I'd be happy with that. But this is about my fucking team, because my team dealt with Dallas, who I believe finished in second fucking place. Is Jerry Jones going to care that some motherfucker failed a physical? Jerry Jones is a fucking idiot. He gave us a fourth rounder. I hope he's not listening right now. I hope he's not listening, because Jerry, we want that fourth rounder. We want you to take Rashawn Gary and help us out with our cap situation as well. We are going to talk, and we're going to save the best for last. And the best for last will actually be the Raiders, the Titans, and the Packers. So what we're going to do first, I've got a link of all the signings that have taken place since yesterday. I've got trades as well. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through the notables for each team. Sage says, Jerry friggin' is not trading for Crosby. Sage, you don't know that, man. You don't know that. Sage, I need to shut the fuck up. I'm covering the Packers. They did a lot. They did a lot. So shut the hell up. So let's start. You know what? Let's start in the AFC. We're going to go AFC North, AFC East, North, West. We'll save the South for, fuck it. Let's just go through the goddamn teams and see where it goes. All right, so what has the Buffalo Bills done so far? We know that they acquired DJ Moore. We've already gone over the what they gave up for him. So we don't need to go over it again. So a good move for the Bills in adding DJ Moore. They still need to add more, no pun intended, to their wide receiving corps. Connor McGovern, we already know that. Minor signings here. Signing Tyler Bass to a revised contract. None of that shit matters. Now, Miami, what they did does matter to Green Bay. They signed Malik Willis, and I said this a while ago that Malik Willis was going to make 20 or so a year. Well, he ended up making $67.5 million. That's $22.5 per year for those of you who can't do mental math like I can, on a 3-year deal, 45 of which is guaranteed. We all expected this. Green Bay, one of the Green Bay executives, now the GM of Miami, Jeff Hafley, former defensive coordinator of the Packers, is their head coach. We all expected that. Only other thing, they signed Zane Gonzalez. So we're pivoting off of the fucking Miami Dolphins. And I am intrigued to see, though, what Malik Willis brings to the table. I think Malik Willis, whenever we saw him in the Packers system, showed well. He showed well on tape. Can run. I love his ability to run the ball. Definitely going to have to be creative there. He can throw the ball downfield as well. So really excited to see what Malik Willis can do. He's on a team that is in the AFC. I don't have to worry about them. So I'll definitely be cheering for Malik Willis next year. I'm going to take a quick peek at the comments real quick. Dolphins going from Tua to Willis, LMAO. Okay, well, I actually think Tua, he's brain dead. He can't see. And I think they are getting better at that position. And even if they aren't, they're kind of in a rebuild anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's just a stopgap, potentially, worst case. He had a team that had players to help. Dolphins are dog shit. Well, we'll see. We will see. I don't think he's going to be bad, man. I think you're underestimating Malik Willis a little bit here. I really do. I think Malik Willis, he could bust. And if he busts, they end up getting a quarterback next year, first overall or whatever. I don't think he is going to be a bust, though. I think he could be serviceable. Sage is saying Willis is cut in 2 years. Bookmark it. All right, I'll bookmark it, Sage. And here's the funny thing, Sage. You're just so bitter that you guys had a franchise quarterback already in Tennessee, and then you had to fucking waste it on Cam Ward, who is also going to be released in 2 years. Book it, my friend. Read it and fucking weep. Now, what has the New England Patriots done? They have done a couple things so far that's pretty good. They've signed a fullback, Reggie Gilliam. They've signed Draymond Jones, defensive lineman, to a 3-year, $39.5 million deal. They bring in former Packer Romeo Doubs to a 4-year, $70 million contract. Sage was accurate when he was telling me this morning $70 million, when I was reading 60 on 3 years, 80 on 4 years. So Sage did get it right where other reporters were getting it wrong. The Patriots also signed offensive lineman Elijah Vera Tucker to a 3-year, $42 million. I'd say an all right start to the offseason for the New England Patriots. The New York Jets, this is such a Jets move, acquired Geno Smith earlier today in a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. Such a Jets move, in my opinion. Just kind of hilarious here. They did sign former Packer Kingsley Enagbare to a 1-year, $10 million contract. They've signed edge rusher Joseph Azai to a 3-year, $36 million deal. They've signed motherfuckers like David Onomate, 10.5 on 1. They picked up Tavondre Sweat earlier. Signed Demario Davis to a 2-year, $22 million deal. He is now 37 years old. I love his play a lot, but I don't love it for much longer. Picked up Nashawn Wright. So funny that this guy was considered a Pro Bowler, and he's only making $5.5 million on a 1-year deal. So obviously the NFL thinks he's a fake Pro Bowler. Dane Belton signed 1 year, $4 million, and also they acquired Minka Fitzpatrick. So the Jets completely trying to overhaul their defense. I don't think their edge rushing is going to get a whole lot better, but At least they're trying to add bodies to their D. So that's the signings in the AFC East. In terms of the AFC North, it's quiet here. All we know, with Baltimore, they resigned Tyler Huntley. We already know that John Simpson, offensive lineman, signed a 3-year, $30 million deal, so nothing too major there. With the Bengals, we already knew about Dalton Risner. They did sign Boy Maffei, edge, to a 3-year, $60 million deal to help with their pass rush a little bit. Nothing else really that big except Brian Cook being brought in for the Bengals, a 3-year, $40.25 million deal. The Cleveland Browns, extremely busy in trying to revamp their offensive line. They are getting busy. We already know they picked up Titus Howard from the Texans, but they re-signed Tevin Jenkins. They picked up Zion Johnson, offensive lineman, to a 3-year, $49.5 million deal. Brought in Elgton Jenkins, who was cut by the Packers, to a 2-year, $24 million deal, $20 million of which is guaranteed. I think if you move him back to guard, that's what you want to do to get the most of Elgton Jenkins. Quincy Williams is the only player that they've picked up that is not an offensive lineman. They signed him to a 2-year, $13 million deal. He is a linebacker. I'm just going to go over what the Steelers have done, and then I'll get back to the comments here. So, Pittsburgh Steelers replace Kenneth Gainwell with Rico Dowdle, 2 years, $12.5 million. Michael Pittman was acquired in a trade with the Colts for a late-round pick. And I'm going to actually ask Sage about this here. Pittman signed a 3-year, $59 million deal. In my opinion, if I was picking between Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman, I would take Pittman. I think Pittman is a very good wide receiver, and the cash that you're giving him is not near as steep as $114 million. We all know Alec Pierce's contract is going to be a flop. So, Sage, I want your thoughts on this Pittman guy coming to the Steelers. I think it's going to be a great 1-2 punch for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stick with the Steelers a bit more. Cameron Hayward got another year added to his contract. They also added Jamal Dean, 3 years, $36.75. Signed Darnell Savage, who I didn't know was in the league, to their secondary. Brought back Asante Samuel. And re-signed some guy that I don't know. So, Sage, I want to know your thoughts on Michael Pittman. I will read your comments. I do believe that the Ravens are in on Trey Hendrickson, and when Sage says that Trey Hendrickson is going to sign with them tomorrow, I believe that you're actually right. Sage agrees he'd rather have Pittman over Pierce. Pierce is boom or bust. Pittman's pretty, honestly, man, Pittman's a big body. Pittman is very productive and steady. I mean, we can go into the stats a bit later. We're not going to do it tonight. Houston Texans, we've already gone over a lot of what they've done. So let's go over the stuff that they haven't done. Offensive tackle, 2-year deals, 25. Okay. We already know Danielle Hunter came back on a $40 million extension. Just a lot of things here. Just seeing like what's... I don't care so much about the re-signings. They did bring in Houston Reed Blankenship. I believe he's a Colt, to $25 million on a 3-year deal. They extended their kicker, and they made a trade for a punter named Kay Kroger. So that pretty much sums it up there. We already know the Colts and what they've done. Daniel Jones, transition tag, we already went over that. Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 million contract. That puts him as being paid as one of the elite. Now, the good news, if you're a Colt fan, only $60 million of that's guaranteed. So at least the guarantees aren't up like 80 or more than that, because that's going to be a bad contract, in my opinion. That's just the way that I see it, unless they're going to really game plan for him. We also know that they picked up Arden Key, 2-year deal, $20 million. Colby Wooden in the trade from the Packers, and Blake Groupie re-signed. So that's it for the Colts there. Jacksonville have just re-signed players from their own team. The most notable looks to be Monteric Brown, cornerback. Now, we are going to spend a little bit of time on this. This is Tennessee Titans time, and we're gonna do that as soon as I read the comments. Pittman 6'4", 220. Pierce has one season of 1K and gets 29 million. Yeah, I think is it 29 or is it? Yeah, you're right, 29, something like that. Absolutely foolish. Let's kind of go over what Tennessee did. So, bring in Mitchell Trubisky, 2-year deal to be a backup. I mean, I don't have a problem with it one way or the other. I don't think it's a bad thing. Don't think it moves the needle in any way, shape, or form. Wandale Robinson, 4 years, $78 million. With a $38 million of that being guaranteed, looks a whole lot better than 114 that Alec Pierce got as well. The guarantees are $22 million less. I like this signing. This guy's, I think the last 2 years has averaged 850 yards per season. I think the value's there as well. And I think he's paid pretty decently, because I do think he's better than Romeo Dobbs. I think you can make the case that he's better than Alec Pierce. The only thing is Alec Pierce can run down the field, whereas Robinson's more of your slot receiver. But I think that's a good get for Tennessee, and one of the worst kept secrets as well. Some of these guys I'm not going to know, so Sage, if you want to give a scouting report on them, please go ahead and do so. Cordell Volson signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. Max value of 4.215. Looks like a backup that potentially is going to, maybe there's 6 offensive linemen who's going to compete for a job. They signed center Austin Schlottman to a 2-year deal worth up to $9 million, 3.5 guaranteed. Again, looks more like depth than a real starter, but it could be wrong. We already know that Tennessee brought in Jermaine Johnson with that trade with the New York Jets that saw T'Vondre Sweat get traded. We already went over that. We're not going to go over it anymore. It's an edge rusher. These guys don't grow on trees. John Franklin Myers is an extremely good signing, in my opinion. I believe he's 29 years old, coming from Denver. Does play, I believe, interior, like defensive tackle in a 4-3. 3 years, $63 million. I believe he had 8.5 sacks last year. I could be wrong. I don't think so. I think that is a great signing for Tennessee. Did they have to overpay? They did. But it's free agency. That's what you got to do. They also bolster their secondary by signing Cordale Flott to a 3-year, $45 million deal, 32 of it guaranteed. Alontae Taylor, 3 years, $60 million. Joshua Williams to a 2-year deal, and then a long snapper that they re-signed as well. I do know Alontae Taylor. I have heard of him. Have not heard of Cordale Flott. A lot of good work here, in my opinion, has been done by the Tennessee Titans so far. Definitely more of a defensive-minded approach, but their big swing is the wide receiver too. So they're doing work on both ends there. I'm just going to take a quick look at the comments. Yeah, interior defensive lineman for John Franklin Myers, third most sacks for that position. Him and Simmons are going to wreak havoc, so that's definitely a good one too. You got Jermaine Johnson on the outside. I don't know who you have opposite of him, but you can also address that in the draft as well. You're not going to really address it in free agency, in my opinion. Let's move to the AFC West, unless, Sage, would you like to comment on the Tennessee Titans before we move What are your thoughts on what they've done so far and what they need to do moving forward? I think they've had a good start. Think we need an edge now, but the secondary is completely rebuilt. You'll add more in free agents or in the draft or whatever, but I agree. You've added two guys that are going to be starting corners on your team, so it's not going to be quite as hard to build up that secondary, I wouldn't think. If you guys want, if the trade falls through with the Packers, if a trade falls through with the Packers and the Cowboys with Rashawn Gary, we will give you Rashawn Gary for a 5th round pick in the 2027 draft. Okay? Just know that we're there. If you need a little edge rush, we got your back. Dre Greenlaw, Sage thinks would be good. A linebacker. You know what? If the worst thing you need is a linebacker, you can find those pretty damn late in the draft. In fact, a lot of the best ones go in the 3rd or the 4th round. Let's pivot off Tennessee. We will break down some of this stuff more, but today we're just going through all the signings so far so we get you all caught up. Denver, all they have is re-signings, so we're not going to go over it because there's no point in going over re-signings. They didn't improve. In fact, they got worse. They lost John Franklin Myers. The Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, it's a lot of money. They did sign Kenneth Walker to a 3-year deal worth $45 million. It's a lot. Kansas City Chiefs needed a running back, in my opinion. So I think it's a good move for them. We'll see if it pans, though. We'll see if it's what they really need. Notable re-signings, Tyquan Thornton and Travis Kelce. They did bring in nose tackle Kyrie's Tonga to a 3-year, $21 million deal. A lot of Packers folks were speculating that we might be the ones making the signing. They brought in Alohi Gilman to a 3-year, $24.75 million contract. And they re-signed a long snapper, James Winchester. So I'd say an okay start for Kansas City, but nothing really moves the needle there except for Kenneth Walker, who you better build an O-line for. Because I don't think Kenneth Walker, if I'm being honest with you, is a game-changing running back. I like him. I do like him. But I don't think he's a game changer. Edge and linebacker on D. So Sage says when I asked about the Tennessee Titans, what they're going to go, he thinks edge and linebacker for defense. Obviously, offensive line on offense for their needs for the Tennessee Titans moving forward. Expect Snead to be cut soon. Which Snead are we talking about over here? Snead. What's the first name? This is from the Chiefs. Ladarius Snead? Oh, from the Chiefs. What, was he really bad with you guys? Ladarius Snead was bad for you guys? Could see the same thing happening to that guy that just went to the goddamn fucking St. Louis Rams. I certainly could. Las Vegas Raiders have had an interesting offseason so far. We're just going to go over all the signings. Jalen Naylor, 3 years, $35 million, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. Their big signing is Tyler Linderbaum, 3 years, $81 million. A complete overpay for a center, $27 million per year is just far more. We thought he was going to get over 4 years, $80 million. He ends up 81 on 3. Do I think it's a good signing in terms of what the player's performance is going to be? Sure. Do I think it's a good signing in terms of value? Absolutely not. They also signed edge rusher Quate Pye to a 3-year deal, or to a deal worth $16 million a year. Doesn't say the terms here. They bring in 2 linebackers from the same draft class, Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, to 3-year deals. Quay Walker getting paid $4.5 million more than Nakobe Dean. They've traded for Teron Johnson to be a slot corner. brought back Eric Stokes, who was a bust with the Packers, but did well for Oakland last year. And they also bring in Matt Gay to be their kicker. They also made the trade of Geno Smith to the Jets. So, I mean, I don't necessarily dislike what the Raiders have done. I don't know if they're going to be good next year. I have no idea. I like Linderbaum. I mean, they've got a great running back. You do got to protect your young quarterback. I just think $27 million per year for a center who I don't even think he's necessarily top 5 in the league. He's just the top free agent in this year's class. So that's a lot of money to me. Lastly, in the AFC West, we've got the Chargers signing Alec Ingold, fullback, signing Charlie Collier, tight end, Cole Strange, offensive guard, 2 years, $13 million. You got Tyler Badize, 3 years, $30 million. You got Tier Tart, an extension. I like him, but we're not talking extensions. And then everything else is a re-signing. So just some very minor moves for the Chargers there. We are going to turn to the NFC East next. Sage says he was conveniently hurt the whole time. He just didn't want to play for you motherfuckers. I did forget to take a piss before I started. I am going to take a piss. I'll be right back. All right. Now this is where I think things are going to start to change. Because we are going to the NFC East, or the NFC Least, as it's known as in my domicile. Let's look at what the Dallas Cowboys have done so far. We already know they kept George Pickens via the franchise tag. We already know that Dak Prescott's wife, or future wife, is a money-grubbing whore who wouldn't sign a prenup, so they broke up. We already knew that Sam Howell had signed a 1-year deal. Rashawn Gary, this is one we got to put an asterisk next to, was acquired to be an edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2027 fourth-round pick. That's going to come off the board when they trade for Maxx Crosby, in my opinion. They've also signed defensive lineman Otito Ogbonnia to a 1-year, $3 million contract. My guess is he's a run stuffer, because if he's not, he's garbage. They've also signed P.J. Locke, safety, Jalen Thompson, another safety, to a 3-year deal worth a maximum of $36 million. We already know Brandon Aubrey has a second-round tender on him. So if you want to get Brandon Aubrey, you need to offer more money than Dallas, as well as a second-rounder, which I don't think many teams would be willing to do. So far, we'll see. I just think tomorrow, this is where one domino does change. The New York Giants, okay? They've been basically doing what I kind of expected a little bit. I did not know Patrick Ricard was a free agent. That is a good fullback. And I like that signing a ton. That's going to help their running game. That's going to help their young quarterback. Love that signing. They brought in Isaiah Likely, 3 years, $40 million. Both him and Ricard were on Baltimore last year. I like both those guys. I think that's two good signings there. Tremaine Edmonds, they also signed him, linebacker, 3 years, $36 million, tackling machine. And then they also bring in quarterback Greg Newsome to a 1 year, $8 million deal. So I really like what the Giants have done. They didn't spend too crazy, but those are some good additions, I'm not going to lie. The Philadelphia Eagles have been relatively quiet, really just making a re-signing here. They signed a tight end named Johnny Munt to a 1 year deal. I think he's a blocking tight end from what my scouting tells me. Did pick up Tariq Woolen today to a 1 year deal worth a maximum of $15 million. I kind of expected Woolen to get more than that. It almost seems like a prove-it deal so he can go into the offseason next year and make more money. Jordan Davis is a guy that they paid. I love him. We already went over the details, but they did re-sign him. And a lot of people think that Jalen Carter could be on their way out and could actually be going to Green Bay. It's just one of the rumors out there, guys. Don't shoot the messenger. Washington Commanders, it does not look like they've done too much. I mean, they made a couple re-signings. They signed Laramie Tunsil to a 2. That's an extension. We don't really need to go over that. They signed this guy. We already went over that previously. They did sign Edge Odafe Owa. I think he was on the Ravens last year. 4 years, $100 million. They signed Tim Settle, 3 years, $24 million. Amik Robertson, cornerback, 2 years, $16 million. Leo Chanel to 3 years, $24.75. So that's what they've done there. We are going to save the NFC North for last. In the NFC South, you've got a hilarious signing by the Atlanta Falcons. It's hilarious because, A, Michael Penix throws left-handed, so does Tua Tagovailoa. And they also got Kirk Cousins sitting there as well. So hilarious quarterback room, if you ask me. They bring in Jahan Dotson as well. 2 years, $15 million, wide receiver. They bring in another wide receiver, the one from the Bears there, Olamide Zaccheaus. They brought in Austin Hooper, 1 year, $3 million. And they signed Nick Folk to a 2 year deal. Nick Folk is still kicking. Man, that son of a bitch has been kicking for a damn long time. Carolina Panthers, what have they done so far? Okay. Kenny Pickett, 1 year, $4 million deal. Who cares? Luke Fortner, 1 year, up to 4.75 center. Okay, cool. Big signing here, though. They bring in Jalen Phillips, ton of upside, 4 years, $120 million. That is a huge signing. As is Devin Lloyd to a 3 year, $45 million deal. So I like both those signings in terms of potential. The rest are all just re-signings, but two big splashes to add to your front seven. Devin Lloyd can fucking ball. Jalen Phillips can ball. And so can Kenny fucking Pickett, too. New Orleans, I don't know if it's a surprising move because, that fucking running back they got now is getting a little long in the tooth. So they bring in Travis Etienne to a 4 years, $52 million deal. It's a lot of money for a running back, in my opinion. I don't think Etienne is quite that good. It's a lot of money. I mean, he's a good player. I'm just saying, I don't know if I certainly would not pay that money. I wouldn't have paid the Kenneth Walker deal either, if I'm being honest with you. Noah Fant, a 2 year deal, tight end. Offensive guard, David Edwards, basically a 1 year deal up to it's $15 million per season. A re-signing we're not going to talk about. Caden Ellis, 3 years, $33 million. And Ryan Wright, punter as well. For a team that's always like $80 or $90 million over the cap, it seems like the fucking New Orleans Saints are very fucking active, to be honest with you. Tampa Bay Bucks, this is where it gets very interesting. Kenneth Gainwell, 2 years, $14 million. I think he's one of the best complimentary backs that you could get. And then they did steal Alex Anzalone from the Detroit Lions, 2 years, $17 million. It's a pretty good linebacker, if you ask me. NFC West, or NFC Best, we would say last year. Let's just quickly run through this. So Gardner Minshew is signing with the Arizona Cardinals. Running back Tyler Algier is only getting $12.25 million on a 2-year deal. He was projected for $21-22 million coming into the season, or coming into the offseason. So to me, that's a hell of a bargain for a running back. I like the power that he brings. That's a hell of a signing by Arizona. Kendrick Bourne, 2 years, $10 million. Matt Pryor, 1-year deal, offensive guard. Isaac Samutu, 3 years, $31.5 million. Pretty good deal there. He was solid for Pittsburgh last year. You've got Roy Lopez also being signed to a 1-year deal. He is a defensive lineman that I know nothing about. And how about them Rams? What have they done? Well, we already knew about Trent McDuffie, but they also signed Jalen Watson from the Kansas City Chiefs to a 3-year, $51 million deal. So they've definitely bolstered their quarterback room. They've paid a lot to do so, but it's a need. They're pretty young up front, so they can kind of do this shit. So I don't like it long term, but I think short term, you got to think that the Rams are going to be pretty fucking good next year. To me, this is the most surprising signing of the offseason thus far. Mike Evans leaving the Tampa Bay Bucks and signing a 3-year, I think $60 million deal with the San Francisco 49ers. I like him in the short term. I like him for 1 year, maybe 2 more years. I still think he can play. Good receiver. They need this type of receiver in San Francisco. I think it's a great signing, but it's just kind of bittersweet. Would have been nice to see him kind of close out his career with Tampa, but it is what it is. The other signing is offensive tackle Vidarian Lowe, 2-year deal, $12 million. Looks like a backup to me. Seattle Seahawks managed to make a couple re-signings in Rashid Shaheed and Joshua Joby. Now let's turn our attention to the NFC North and see what the fuck is going on here. We're not going to focus on re-signings unless it's the Packers, okay? Bears, let's start with the Chicago Bears. Sign Khalif Raymond, 1 year, $5.1 million deal. It's not moving the needle for me. We already know they picked up Garrett Bradbury. Neville Gallimore signed a 2-year deal, $12 million, defensive lineman. So probably just a plug that can stuff the run a little bit. You also got Devin Bush coming on a 3-year, $30 million deal. I think Devin Bush was fluky last year. I think he will regress to the mean, and that's all there is to it. You also got Kobe Bryant coming from Seattle to a 3-year, $40 million deal. He plays safety, and he is actually pretty damn good. Detroit so far has signed Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback, Isaiah Pacheco as well. Did not know that Teddy Bridgewater was still playing. They also signed center Cade Mays, offensive tackle Larry Borum. We already went over Juice Scruggs, the Montgomery trade. They also re-signed Rock Yassin. So far, the Minnesota Vikings have only done 2 re-signings of Eric Wilson and Andrew DePaula, as well as a cornerback signing of James Pierre. Now we turn our attention to the Green Bay Packers. Of course, we are going to save the best for last. You know, I was kind of like, we paid a lot for Sean Ryan. And then I looked at the contract that Linderbaum got that was $27 million a year. And now I'm okay with it. Even if he's average. I'm okay with it. Sean Ryan, we already went over it. Gonna be our center. We already went over Zari Franklin being traded for Colby Wooden. Excited to see if he can actually, go back to what he used to be or come close to it. Now, the only signing that the Packers have had so far is kind of an interesting one. Benjamin St. Just, 2 years, 10 million, can make what 10.5 million, something like that. Now, here's a guy, Chris Collinsworth, that might be a real hidden gem. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Packers fan. I believe he had 324 snaps last year. And in those 324 snaps, I believe he was the 11th highest graded cornerback in PFF. Now, what's really cool, the Packers play a lot of zone coverage. He actually led the league as, a coverage corner last year. I think in zone, I could be wrong. But no, maybe it was just coverage corner last year. 90.1 was the grade that he got, which is an elite grade. So you could potentially be looking at, I don't know, man. You could be looking at someone that's pretty good, and it's buy low. There's no risk there. But it does come with some attrition. There's a lot of attrition on the Packers. So in terms of re-signing so far, we already knew Sean Ryan and Chris Brooks were re-signed. We did bring back Nick Nyman, a special teamer. We did bring in Darian Kennard. He is basically a guy who can play like tackle, guard, pinch, that sort of thing. Has a lot of experience as a backup. So that's who we've re-signed so far. We also re-signed Bo Melton. So I know Bo Melton's back. He's a special teamer. Can play wide receiver and corner. So that's one thing. We also brought in, for another signing, Sky Moore, former bust for the Kansas City Chiefs, second round pick. I believe he was taken in the same draft as Christian Watson, to be a return man for kick and punts. That is actually a huge need that we had. So that should be pretty damn good for us, for in terms of need. We have obviously lost Colby Wooden to a trade for now. Or no, we've lost Colby Wooden. We've lost Rashawn Gary for now. We don't know if that's formalized or anything. We obviously lost Elgton Jenkins. We've obviously lost Quay Walker, Malik Willis, Kingsley Enegabare, Romeo Dobbs, and we will soon lose Rasheed Walker to a pretty big deal, I would expect. Just trying to take a look here. Christian Welch is another one that we've re-signed as well. Forgot that. So it's really interesting, though. If everything stays the way it is, the Packers have freed up a lot of money. And they've freed up a lot of money that I do not think they're going to use in free agency because there's not much there. Could they sign Trey Hendrickson? Yes, they could. But I think that they're saving up their money for a big trade. The only names that kind of make sense, Jalen Carter, Dexter Lawrence, I feel like they really, really want to add a nasty defensive lineman. And both of those guys would fit that bill. To me, it seems more likely that they would get Jalen Carter. But because they're not. Here's the thing about the Packers. Right now, if we're gonna do some math here, the Packers are going to add 4 compensation picks for next season. They're not going to sign guys that are going to hurt that. What they're going to sign is like Sage said. Sage mentioned Ladarius Sneed. Well, the Packers do need to add some corners, right? If you add a guy to your team and they were cut, they don't go against your compensation picks. Whereas if you sign a guy, let's say I don't know. Let's say we signed Tariq Woolen. Sorry. Well, then you're basically going to lose one of your compensation picks. The Packers aren't doing that. The Packers are going to be looking bargain, and I think they're looking to hit home run via trade. So I do expect we will have a big trade for a defensive lineman, not a cornerback, in the next couple of days. You are eventually going to see some re-signings as well. I really, Sage, hate the Indianapolis Colts and what they've done because I like Christian Watson. He's a little bit injury prone. I understand that, right? But he's a better receiver than Alec Pierce is. Now, I don't think he's going to get 114 or anything like that. But Alec Pierce just really fucking ruined the fucking wide receiver market, in my fucking opinion. This is so much worse than when Christian Kirk got like 17, 18, 19 a year not that long ago. This to me is just so much worse. I can't fathom this because like this guy is boom or bust, man. That's all he is boom or bust, man. He's literally a guy. Even last year when he played, what did he had a little over 1,000 yards. That's only like 53 yards a game. It's so annoying. He's not a receiver that I'd want. Not for that price. Absolutely not. That's just so... I'd rather have fucking Romeo Dobbs, man. Sage says women shouldn't own NFL teams, and I agree with them. Let's actually... Sage, while I'm doing this, I want you to let me know, A, if I forgot anything, B, what are your remarks on free agency so far? Where do you think your team's going? Where do you think some of the other teams are going? Because we're going to look up Pittman, and we're going to look up Alec Pierce, and we're going to do just kind of a tale of the tape. Because one's getting $59 million on a 3-year deal, right? The other is getting $114 on a 4-year deal. So last year, Alec Pierce, let me just get his career up though, it'll be better. So for Alec Pierce's career, I'm just going to read you the yards of the games played. 593 yards in 16 games played. 514 yards in 17 games played. 824 in 16 and 1,003 in 15. Now, the averages are crazy. 22 and 21 per game. He's not a high volume guy. The most receptions he's ever had is 47. It just tells me it's not sustainable, especially if he's your number one. Now, he's 6'3". He is a former second-round pick. We're not saying he's not talented. We're just looking at him. So he's got just under 3,000 yards in a 4-year career so far. Now, Pittman is 28, so he's a little older. But if you look at Pittman, I mean, you've got 503, 1,082, 925, 1,152, 808, 784. Really not injury prone. So you've got, over 5,000 yards so far. The receptions, he's had as many as 109. That is crazy. Former second round pick as well. Has 2 years on the other guy. So maybe you can consider them even-ish. But one guy's getting paid less than $20 million per year on only a 3-year deal. It's not a 4-year deal. The other guy's a 4-year deal, and there's some risk there. I think Pittman is the safer pick of the two. Maybe upside-wise you can argue that Pierce is, more upside. But then again, you need to wonder, how much of what Pierce did was because Pittman was drawing coverage as well. Like, what's he gonna do when he's the alpha, and he's paid right now to be a fucking alpha? What is he actually gonna do? Well, we'll have to find out. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna do terrible, but let me just see. I'm just gonna pull up over the cap. I want to see where Alec Pierce ranks. Alec Pierce, wow. His average per year is right there with Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin's a little older. Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting paid $1 million more per year than Alec Pierce. A.J. Brown is getting paid $2 million, $3 million more per year than him. So Garrett Wilson, $3.5 million more. DK Metcalf, $4 million more. So it's like, look at DK Metcalf, $5. I mean, or CeeDee Lamb, I should say. Like, you're talking. He doesn't belong up here. He's getting paid more than T. Higgins. Jalen Waddle is even better than him. Fucking George Pickens. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know, man. I don't know. Why couldn't the Colts keep both of them? If they like their wide receiver so much, why don't you just fucking keep both? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a lot for a guy who just does one thing. These guys can be shut down. I don't think it's a great competitive move there. Let me just take a look at the comments. Sage says the Ravens should be investigated for damn sure. They got buyer's remorse 1,000%. Like, no shit, he failed. He just had surgery and everyone knew he was out until June. I agree with you. I agree. There was no, like, I mean, he did just have surgery and stuff, so it's one of those things you think probably should be vetoed. You agreed to the trade. Now, like, how bad did he fail the physical? Was it worse than they were expecting? I don't necessarily think that long term it's a big deal. It was a small injury, wasn't it? Like, that's what I thought. Let me see. From Maxx Crosby we're talking about, for those of you who don't understand the context. A meniscus tear in his left knee. Meniscus, so it was January 7th that he had surgery for a torn meniscus. How long does torn meniscus? It's not even going to be much longer. I mean, it generally requires 3 to 6 months for a full return for high impact activities. So we're only at the 3-month mark now. So it's common that there would be another 3 months or whatever for it to be back in business, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think he's going. Meniscuses are not even like. They're not even like risky injuries. You never hear about guys that have torn meniscuses, and you never see them again. Back in the day, ACL used to be one that it basically meant your career was done. Back in the day, especially Achilles tear would mean you would never play again, but. You know, you got Kevin Durant, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Phillips. Like, you know, like those are very serious injuries that don't even necessarily mean shit. Torn meniscus, not in my lifetime since I've been watching, hasn't meant a goddamn thing, to be honest with you. So, you kind of knew making that trade that there was going to be something on the medical that you weren't going to like. So I don't necessarily understand it, if I'm being honest with you. I don't, unless they found something else that's very bad. But do you think that they found something that's really, really bad? He was playing through the. He was playing through it since October 19th as well. And he wasn't quite himself, but he was still pretty damn good. Like if you looked at his stats, you'd be like, he was fine. I know it was production was down a little bit because I did own him last year. He was still pretty good. Um, yeah, it shouldn't really matter if, like I mean something else other than the torn meniscus. You know what I mean? Like if you find something that's completely unrelated, you know. But I don't think that's the case at all. But we'll see. I just really, really hope that this does not mean that Rashawn Gary. I really hope this doesn't mean that Rashawn Gary is not going to net us anything, because I really liked getting a fourth rounder for him. They just figured they could sign Trey and keep their picks. Well, let's be honest about Trey Hendrickson. Love Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson's coming off a year where he was injured. Now, he's not having any serious injuries, right? He doesn't have any serious injuries, but he's 31, not 29. His production last year was not very good, whereas the production for Crosby was a lot better. So I think that I like Trey Hendrickson. I just think there's risk with Trey Hendrickson. He had what, 5.5 sacks or 4.5 sacks. Only played half the year. I'd be more worried about that player that's getting older than the player that's 29 years old. Just my opinion, though. Now I've got a question, and maybe it's a stupid question. I don't know, and then we'll call it. But is there a world in which Maxx Crosby returns to the Oakland Raiders? In your opinion, is there a world? They've been busy this offseason. They've got a lot of picks. They tried to trade him, so they've showed respect to him. Is there a world where he just returns back to the Raiders and they kind of hammer it out? The regime that he was mad at before is not the same regime now. They got a new head coach, a new GM. They would still have money. Like I just feel like you're gonna have a new quarterback. Like I would, if I'm Oakland, I'd be like, hey man, like let's talk and let's just, is there a way to figure this shit out? So read what Sage is saying. They just figured they could sign Trey and keep their picks, which is not bad necessarily, because one of their picks is a 14th, as you mentioned as well. Sage does believe that there's a world in which Maxx Crosby could stay with Oakland, and mentions as well as what I did, they still have money to spend as well. Because, maybe that, I'm going to make a prediction right now. They need more O-line. They spent on Linderbaum. Why not add Rashid Walker from Green Bay? Why not add Rashid Walker? And then you got your left tackle. Then you can piece everything together in the draft the way that you want to. Well, I'd like to know the cap spaces on the teams that are left. We'll take a look at that a bit tomorrow. Today was, I know it was not the most organized, but it was extremely. It was a lot of information to kind of go through. So I'm glad I was able to find that link that I sent you, Sage. It was extremely helpful. Sage is saying, I'm just going to read. Not many teams can afford his $30 million now. That's what scares me. Can Dallas? The Bears can. So either way, I lose. That's just me being selfish a little bit here. I want Rashawn Gary traded, man. That was such a good trade. It was such a good trade, man. Because, yeah, he is over 30, 35 or something. No, Sage, the Lions have no money. The Lions are in one of the worst cap situations in the league. That's why they got rid of, like, Montgomery and them. They're one of the worst. Do you know what's hilarious? As all these teams spend money, the Packers actually fucking have over $24 million in space right now because they've been cutting and, trading and all this shit. The Packers are actually starting to be one of the teams that have one of the most money. And we haven't even restructured Jordan Love and shit. Sage, I know it's not going to happen, but how crazy would it be if somehow the Packers could add Maxx Crosby to line up across from Micah Parsons? It's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But imagine that does. That'd be pretty fucking crazy, wouldn't it? I'd be all for that. But, I don't think the Packers will do this. The Packers could sign Trey Hendrickson, though, to put across from Micah Parsons as well. But again, I really think the Packers, the more I keep hearing it, are going to be a suitor for Jalen Carter. I think the Packers are going to land Jalen Carter. A Detroit man would never be a fudge Packer. Well, guess what, Sage? Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary was actually from Michigan. And he played for the Packers for, 5 fucking years or more? So don't give me that bullshit. Don't feed me and spoon feed me that fucking bullshit. Or I'll fucking kill you. I'm sorry for that. That wasn't what I was trying to say. I'm not going to kill you, okay? I'm not going to kill you as long as Rashawn Gary remains with the Cowboys. Okay? A Michigander, what, he's fucking from fucking Newfoundland? Fucking Gander, Newfoundland? Fucking god-awful spot that is. Is that where you go before you go to hell? All right, Sage, are we packing it up? I think this was a decent stream. We got everything caught up. And I will plan with you some things. Potentially maybe breaking down some of these moves in more detail. Especially for the teams that we're cheering for. So you might see some more Tennessee time. I like what Tennessee did. When you told me when I read Wan'Dale Robinson, I was like, that's good. When you told me John Franklin Myers, I was like, oh yeah, that's really good. John Franklin Myers, very good. And Delonte Taylor and that other cornerback, I mean, that's good pickups as well. But John Franklin Myers alone, that is a good fucking signing right there. That is a fucking hell of a signing. Your defensive front is coming along, I will say. You got Jermaine Johnson, Simmons, Franklin Myers. You're missing, I'd say, 2 pieces. One, a starting edge, and then a rotational edge as well. And that, I mean, you can easily get that in the draft, in my opinion. It's going to have to come in the draft, though, for you guys. I don't think you're going to be able to fix it unless you want Rashawn Gary. If you want Rashawn Gary, we can give you Rashawn Gary, man. If this trade with fucking Dallas blows up, we can fucking give you Rashawn Gary. I would love it if you guys traded for Rashawn Gary. If you guys want to give a second and like a first next year, you're gonna regret it. I'd try, if I was you guys, I'd try to go like 2 seconds and then a third or something like that. Or 2 seconds and a fourth maybe. Something, I don't know. You have to get with the old calculator. Next year's draft is very good. So if your team still sucks this year, that first rounder is going to be worth a fucking ton. if you still suck. And you're not giving up your first rounder this year because that's just fucking foolish, man. You get the fourth overall pick. It's just not going to happen. But I mean, if you wanted, you probably could just say, "Hey, take our first, take it or leave it." I'd be taking the first, but I'd actually be asking for a pick back if I went first for Maxx Crosby. If I was Tennessee, um, I'd want to pick back to negate it a bit because you can trade those first back. Those first that are like fourth overalls, you can trade that shit back. That pick is extremely valuable. Extremely fucking valuable. All right, Sage. Unless you have something else to say, hey, I was very, very complimentary today of the Titans. I like what the Titans have done a lot. They're not just wasting their money like the Raiders by giving $27 million a year to a center. Did I cover everything? Crosby and a first overall for a fourth. I think you mean to say Crosby a fourth for a first overall, right? You might have wrote that a little bit weird. You want to put the pressure on. Well, I'm sure we will see something tomorrow. What's very interesting in this whole thing is Trey Hendrickson was expected to make his mind up tomorrow. I don't think it changes anything because I think Sage is right. I think tomorrow we'll read Trey Hendrickson has signed with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's what it's going to be. All right. Well, that is our free agent frenzy special, a day late. I'm kind of glad we waited a day late because of the whole Maxx Crosby thing. We might get a couple interesting twists and turns, and we'll chat about it tomorrow. Have a good night, guys. The thundercloud is fucking out.